Who doesn't love getting packages? Well, I certainly love getting them. In this video, we're gonna be checking out one from LZ Mods in Australia. I got a few things from him and he threw in some bonus items, and I thought I'd open these up on camera because LZ Mods is a smaller, more unknown seller. And I think he has some cool stuff that some of you might be interested in, and maybe I can send you his way. But here's the package. I don't know what's in it yet, except for a couple of things that I bought. So, using my scissors, not as tactical or nice as some of the knives that other YouTubers use. Money shot. Ooh, gonna have to blur that out. That has my name and address on it. Get the real money shot. Oh yeah. Oh boy. And read the letter. Hi, Bubbles. I've been making special Nerf parts for years, and you're actually the first person to review some of my stuff. I've never had complaints, so I know you will be pleased. I make much more things as seen on my Facebook page, LZ Mods, but I decided to save some of them for another day or another episode. Apart from selling and designing Nerf parts, I also 3D print anything for the peeps. And items in the list: Longshot bolt sled reinforcement on Thingiverse, Longshot sight V1, M4 M16 inspired, V2 AK-47 inspired, and V3 MP5 inspired. Longshot shell reinforcements on Thingiverse, Stryfe trigger, Stryfe red trigger, plus experimental longer version, Recon retaliator trigger, the Stryfe battery tray, low profile design to fit, cast steel hyperfire and rapid strike gears, Vulcan Nerf rail tripod adapter, and a Longshot catch, which is also on Thingiverse. There's a lovely assortment of different items in this package, so let's take a look at them in a bit more detail, show you some more angles on them and where they go, all that good stuff. Let's start with the Longshot iron sights. And these replace the part at the front of the Longshot. It doesn't really do too much, it's mostly there to fill in that space. And LZ Mods has 3 different versions of these iron sights. He has an M16, M4 kind, an AK-47, and an MP5. And installing these is super duper easy, and you don't even have to open up the entire Longshot to do so. If you want, you can take off the front half of the screws, pry the shell open, and stick them in before just screwing up that front part, and you're done. Now, I do have one suggestion before installing these, and that is to take a 15/64 drill bit and going through each of these holes with it so that they slide onto the pegs more easily and it's less of a fuss. But if you do that, I highly suggest taking it slow, taking it easy so you don't split this part at the front. But if you do split the front, as I've done with this one, it will still work just fine. It's just, I think it's better if you don't have that part split. But if you're wondering what these look like installed on a Longshot, here you go. To keep up with the Longshot theme, he also sent me a bag of reinforcement pieces. I didn't receive the bolt sled reinforcement templates, but those are just pieces that you trace over onto a piece of sheet metal, cut out the sheet metal, and then epoxy it on to the Longshot bolt sled to give it a bit more strength. But these pieces are glued into different areas of the Longshot, mainly around where the catch is. That place is a weak spot, and you can break that plastic, deform it, and all that stuff. And he also sent me a 3D printed catch piece right here if you want to swap out your catch for something a bit stronger. Next, we have the Stryfe battery cover, and this is a low profile cover for those of you who want a little bit of extra battery space without the big ginormous bulge sticking off the side of your Stryfe. Compared to the cover that I have on the Pink Menace, this is about half the size, and I don't know how big of a battery you can get into this space, but it's mostly for those of you who want a more stock looking Stryfe with a little bit of added room. One thing he's done to this cover is he's added enough space where the screw goes in for a thumb screw to work, which is great because I love using the thumb screws and they're very, very convenient, so that is nice. And sticking with the Stryfe theme, here are some rev triggers he has made. So fun fact about these rev triggers, these are actually inspired by the one I made for the Pink Menace, the one that I shaved out of epoxy putty, which is pretty darn cool in my opinion. So he has two versions available. He has one with the shorter kind of curve and one with the longer curve, and I like the longer curve better. But basically the point of these triggers is that it gives your finger a curved surface to push into, something that's a bit more natural than the bulge of the stock trigger. They stick out a bit further than the stock trigger, and it just gives your finger a bit more space to rest against. Not everyone's gonna be into it, but I think they are way, way, way more comfortable than the stock trigger. I just think it's really cool that there is something that I've made turned into a 3D printed object that people can get, so they don't have to spend as much time as I do shaving them out of epoxy putty, so that's pretty awesome. And along with the rev triggers, he also makes a 3D printed version of the main trigger with this kind of curved real steel look to it, and it has these nice grooves in there for a grippier feel on them. It's missing the back bit of plastic, that's why I say it has kind of that real steel look to it. And along with that, he does a Retaliator Recon version for the trigger. Same layout, same design, but for the Recon Retaliator. And this one comes in a beautiful blue. I think this camera's picking it up well at the moment, but when I was doing B-roll, it cannot compare to what it looks like in person. It's this very shiny blue. It looks really, really pretty. But if you're more into the real steel kind of thing, if you want a trigger that looks a bit different than the stock one, you know, these are available and I do like the look of them. I actually bought one for the Stampede a long time ago, back when I think he first started. But yeah, these are just two little options of main triggers you can get with that nice curvy feel to them. And the last 3D printed piece I have is the Vulcan tripod adapter. And I don't have a tripod to show this off, but it's pretty simple to use and understand. This slides on to any tack rail. It could be on the top, it could be on the bottom, it could be on the side, wherever you want it to go. And then the Vulcan tripod kind of latches on to these parts on the side right here. It just latches on like that, and you can put the tripod on it. So if you ever wanted to put the tripod onto your Stryfe or your Retaliator or something, I don't know, really anything that has a rail, you can put the tripod adapter onto. I don't know how strong of a hold it will have, but really the weak point of this will be the tripod, because the piece that slides onto the rail covers the entire rail. So that's not the weak point. I think the tripod will be the weak point. I don't really have a use for this piece, but if you ever wanted to put a tripod anywhere on a blaster with rails, there you go. And lastly, we have some metal gears. The point of these is to help reduce the chance of a gear tooth breaking, which can happen, and it's happened in the past with things like the Stampede. The ones I have are for the Hyperfire and the Rapid Strike. I'm not sure how common it is for gears to break in those two blasters, but I mean, you can always brag about how your blaster has metal in it if you really wanted to. One thing to know about these gears is that they do have some weight to them. The Rapid Strike gears weigh in at 8.47 and 2.01 grams. 10.48 grams together, and the Hyperfire gear weighs 12.58 grams by itself. So you may want to use some torquier motors to compensate for the weight, though that may not be entirely necessary because these aren't connected directly to the motor. Along with these, he does sell 2 gears for the Stampede, but I will say this right now, a little warning, the prices for these gears are not exactly cheap, so just a heads up. I think the Stampede gears have more of a use in a metal form than the Hyperfire and the Rapid Strike gears, but having the options is pretty cool. And these are the pieces that I bought for myself just because I wanted to try them out. And this one will be going into a mod in the future because I definitely need to make a Hyperfire mod because I am lagging behind. And that is all the bits and pieces that I have in the package, which I'm just kind of clustering onto the video frame right now. I'm gonna have a link in the description to his Facebook page where you can see what all he has available, as well as contact him if you're interested in getting something sent to you. But a big thank you to LZ Mods for adding the extra stuff into the package along with what I bought. It was very, very nice of him, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, have a great day wherever you are. I'm trying to point to the lens, wherever you are.